Hi there and welcome to another lesson from successtutoring.co.uk. Today what we're going to be looking at is factorising quadratic expressions. You should already know how to expand the following sets of brackets that you can see on the screen. If you can't, there is a link in the description box to another video where I outline how to expand two sets of brackets. It's very important that you know how to do this first before attempting this lesson. So, if you do know how to do this, fantastic. What I would also recommend is if you want to take part in this lesson as well and answer the questions as I'm going through them, there is also a link to all of the questions that I'm going to do in this video here. So feel free to pause the video, click the link, and get the lesson material that you're going to need. Right, so let's have a go at this question here. Okay, we've got x squared plus 8x plus 15. Now what we're trying to do is do the opposite of expanding brackets. So we are going to return this expression back into two sets of brackets that we just saw on the previous page. Yeah? Now we've got some information here that's very important for you to understand. And once you do understand it, this process will be so much easier. You need to know what a coefficient is. And you need to know what a constant is. Okay, so first of all, a coefficient is a number that exists before a letter term. Okay? Now, the coefficient of x is 8 because this means 8 times x. Alright? Now, the next one here, the coefficient of x squared, remember, these two terms are not the same. X squared is not the same as x. So the coefficient of x squared is 1. But if you've noticed, there's no number in front of it. The reason that because of that is because x squared is identical to 1 x squared. In mathematics, we don't need to write the 1 next to an x squared because we already assume that you know it's already there. The only time you would put a number next to it if it's greater than 1, such as 2x squared. The coefficient of x squared would be 2. Okay, so I'm going to rub this out just not to confuse anyone. So, and the constant term is this one here, 15. Now let's have a go at trying to actually factorize this expression. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant. Okay, we know the coefficient of x squared is 1 and the constant term is 15. We've already stated that. So we know 1 times 15 is going to be 15. But now listen very carefully. We need to find two factors of 15. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to give me 15, but they must add up to give me the coefficient of x. So two numbers, let's say for instance 1 times 15 will give me 15, but if I add these two numbers together, they must come to the coefficient of x. 1 plus 15 is 16. It does not equal 8. So we can't use that. So there are only two more factors of 15, 3 and 5. Let's try that then. So we'll write it here. If I got 15, 3 times 5 will give me 15. But 3 plus 5 will give me 8. Now this number here, 8, is the same as the coefficient of x. So what have we just found? We've just found the numbers 3 and 5 that are going to go back into the original brackets. So I'll write it here. I'm just going to open some brackets like this. I'm going to put x plus positive 3 and x plus positive 5. And that's my answer. Straightforward, nice and easy. But how can I check if that's correct? Let's have a go on the next page. Or actually, I'll just scroll down. How about that? So I'm going to go ahead and expand this out now. So x times x will give me x squared. X times 5 will give me plus 5x. Then I've got 3 times x will give me plus 3x. And then I've got 3 times 5 will give me positive 15. We can only simplify the 5x and the 3x by adding them together. So that's going to give me x squared plus 8x plus 15. This is a good way to check your answer. Sorry about that, answer. Okay, if I ended up with a different expression to what I started with, I know that this is the wrong answer. Alright, so just to go over it again, our final answer is x plus 3 inside brackets, x plus 5. Right, so let's try this question here. We've got x squared plus 11x plus 28. The coefficient of x is 11, the coefficient of x squared is 1, and the constant term is 28. So just like in the previous question, I'm going to multiply the coefficient of x squared, which is 1, by 28, which is the constant, and that's going to give me 28. Now I need to find two factors of 28 that will add up to give me the coefficient of x, which is 11. Okay, so let's try 4 times 7. 4 times 7, 7, 14, 21, 28. There you go. But what happens if I add these? Will it give me the coefficient of x? 7 add 4 is 11. So we already have our numbers that we're going to place inside of the bracket. So x plus 7, it doesn't matter which order you write them in as long as you get the signs correct, and x plus 4. Just to check again that we do have the right answer, let's multiply out these two brackets. That's going to give me, I'll do it very quickly, x squared, it's going to give me plus 7x plus 4x plus 28. Once you simplify the 7x and the 4x, you're going to get x squared plus 11x plus 28. So we know that our answer up here is going to be correct. Okay. Right, let's try this one now. We've got x squared plus 10x plus 25. The coefficient of x is 10, the coefficient of x squared is 1, and the constant term is 25. So let's go ahead and multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant, which is 1 times 25, which is 25. Two factors of 25, 5, times 5. 5 add 5, so 5 times 5, so it's 25. 5 plus 5 will give me 10. 10 is identical to the coefficient of x, so we have our values that we're looking for. We can simply place those into brackets. Okay, because for this question, because both the brackets are identical and they have the same signs with each for each number, you should in the exam write your answer as x plus 5 to the power of 2. We write it to the power of 2 because it means we're squaring both of them. So this is your final answer here. Right, let's try this question now. We've got x squared minus 10x plus 9. If you notice here, we have a minus 10x now. Up until now, we've only been dealing with positive whole numbers. So the coefficient of x is minus 10. The coefficient of x is 1. And the constant term here is 9. It's the exact same process. Multiply the coefficient of x squared, which is 1, by the constant, which is 9. Okay, 1 times 9 is 9. Now we need two factors of 9 that add up to give me minus 10. You might be thinking, how on earth am I going to work that out? I'm going to show you. So let's try the obvious ones, what people are going to naturally pick. 3 times 3 will give me 9. But 3 plus 3 will give me 6. So we know that this isn't the right answer. Those are not the right factors that we need. Let's try something else then. And also as well, we need to start thinking we've got a negative here and a positive here. So we're going to need at least one negative term. What about if I tried? Okay, got a 9 here and I said, what about minus 3 times 3? That gives me minus 9. And minus 3 add 3 equals 0. So that's not going to work either, because 0 doesn't give equal minus 10. We'll try again. What about if I said we've got minus 3 times minus 3? That will give me 9. So we know that's correct because we started off with 9. And if I said minus 3 add minus 3, we're going to get minus 6. That's still not correct. So we're going to have to try again. Right. What about if I said minus 1 times minus 9? Let's scroll down a bit. Minus 1 times minus 9 will give me positive 9, which is what we need. Okay. And if I said minus 1 add minus 9, that will give me minus 10. So both of these are correct. So now we have our figures to place inside the brackets. So we're going to have x minus 1, x minus 9, close brackets. How can I check if this answer is correct? Let's test it by expanding out those brackets. I'll write it out again here, just underneath x minus 1, x minus 9. X times x will give me x squared. x times minus 9 will give me minus 9x. Minus 1 times x is minus x, and minus 1 times minus 9 is positive 9. Simplify the minus x and the minus 9x. That's going to give me x squared minus 10x plus 9. So we can be confident that this is your final answer. Take care when you're using the negative terms, because that's how a lot of students end up coming out with the wrong answer. Let's try this question here. We've got x squared minus 9x plus 8. We've got our coefficients here and our constant term. So let's run through this one quite quickly now. We're going to do 1, which is the coefficient of x squared, times 8, which is your constant, will give us 8. Find two factors. One of them, at least one of them, will be a negative number because we have a negative coefficient of x. So I'm going to try minus 1 times minus 8. That's going to give me positive 8. Now if I add them, minus 1 add minus 8, let's make that a bit bigger, minus 8, that's going to give me minus 9, which is perfect because that is the same value as the coefficient of x. So we've got our values here. I'm going to place them inside a bracket, minus 8. Just to be clear as well, it doesn't matter what order you write the brackets in. You could have put x minus 8 close brackets, then put x minus 1 close bracket. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the sign of the number. And that's the answer to that question there. Okay, next question. X squared minus 3x minus 18. Our coefficient of x is minus 3. Our coefficient of x squared is 1. Our constant term is minus 18. I'll repeat that. The coefficient of x is minus 3. The coefficient of x squared is 1, and the constant term is minus 18. Up until now, we haven't dealt with any negative constant terms. The same process applies. We're going to do 1 times minus 18. That's going to equal minus 18. I need to find two factors of minus 18 that add up to give me the coefficient of x, which is minus 3. So I might need a positive number and a negative number. So if I said, just for instance, I don't know, let's try minus 6 times positive 3. Minus 6 times positive 3 will give us minus 18, which is what we already needed. But let's try and add them. Minus 6 add 3. That's going to give me minus 3. Perfect. We've already got our values that we're going to use to plug into input in our brackets. We've got x minus 6 close brackets x plus 3. It's very important to get your signs right in these questions, especially when we're dealing with negative numbers. That's your final answer. You're welcome to expand those brackets and check them yourself. Right, now we have a slightly different question here. Up until now, we've dealt with questions where the coefficient of x squared is only going to be 1. In this question here, the coefficient of x squared is now 2. So because the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1, we have to answer it in a slightly different way. So let's try and do that now. So I'm going to multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant, which is what we've done in the previous questions. Find our factor pairs. Okay, by multiplying, that's good, so that works. And add them together. And that should give us the coefficient of x, which is 15, so that's fine. Now, what we need to do is rewrite the expression 2x squared plus 15x plus 7. I'm going to extend this a bit more and I'm going to put 14x plus x. You might be asking, where did I get those values from? Here we are. 1. Okay, 1, we don't write 1x, we just write x. Okay, just so you know, that's where this has come from, because 14x plus x will give me 15x. I'm going to bring down the 7 and bring down the 2x squared. Make sure your signs are correct. Now what I'm going to do is just rearrange this expression, because I notice you've got a 14x and a 7. We know that 14 is a multiple of 7. So I'm just going to rearrange it here. I'll write it here actually. I'll put it here. 2x squared plus x plus 14x plus 7. So what I'm going to do now is simply rewrite it again, but this time I'm going to split it and put some of it into brackets. Can you see what I've just done now? Now I can go ahead and factorize out what's common on both sides of each term. In this first bracket here, x is common on both sides, so I can take the x outside the bracket, and that's going to leave me with 2x plus 1. With this bracket here, we've got 14x plus 7. 7 is the highest common factor of 14, so I'm going to take the 7 out, leaving me with 2x plus 1, and that's a positive 7. Now you might be wondering, what do we do? Let's bring that down a bit. We're going to take this x term and this plus 7 term and put that into a bracket of its own. So you're going to have x plus 7. Notice here we have 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1. We only need one of them. Okay, so I'm just going to write next to it 2x plus 1. This is your final answer, but you know, it's always good to write it like this. Okay, and then you got x plus 7. I just personally think it looks neater. So this is your answer here. Okay, but how do I know it's correct? We're going to have to expand it out, aren't we? So let's test it out here. So I'll just put test. So I know if I rewrite this out here, I'm just going to expand it. Hopefully you all should be able to do this now. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 7 is going to be 14x. 1 times x is just x. 1 times 7 is just plus 7. We can simplify the 14x and the x, and that will give us 2x squared plus 15x, because they add together, plus 7, which is what we originally started with. So we can say that this is your correct answer. Let's try this one here. Same process, but this time the coefficient of x is 19, the coefficient of x squared is 4, and the constant is minus 5. So I'm going to do 4 times minus 5, because the coefficient of x squared times the constant will give me minus 20. Find two factors of minus 20 that add up to give me positive 19. Let's do 20 multiplied by minus 1, which will give me minus 20. That's correct. And 20 add minus 1 will give me 19. So that's correct. So we can go ahead and write out our expression here. And then we can break it down and then factorize. So just like in the last question, we're going to have, we'll put minus 1 for instance here, positive 20 here, 20x, so that should be an x, my mistake, minus 5, bring down your other values, that's going to be 4x squared. Okay, now I can just go ahead and start to put this one into brackets and this one into brackets as well. So let's do that now. So we've got 4x squared minus x, close brackets, plus, because the 20x is positive, I can put a plus here. We've got 20x minus 5. Factorize what's common in this bracket here. X is common on both sides. Let's take that out. You're going to end up with 4x minus 1, close brackets. You've got 20x minus 5 in this bracket. What's the highest common factor of 20 and 5? It's 5. So let's take that out. So it's going to be plus 5, close brackets, sorry, open brackets, my mistake, 4 times, so it's going to be 4x minus 1. There you go. Just like we did before, we're going to take the x term here and the plus 5 term here, and we're going to place them in their own bracket together. Like I said, we have two identical terms, 4x minus 1. We only need the 1. Okay, so just to rewrite, 4x minus 1, close brackets, then you've got x plus 5, close brackets, and that will be your final answer. Okay, let's have a look at this question now. You've got minus 9 as your coefficient of x, x squared coefficient is 10, and the constant term is minus 7. So you should know what we're doing by now. We're going to multiply 10 times minus 7, because that's the coefficient of x squared, times a constant, which gives us minus 70. We're going to find our factor pairs. I already know it's minus 14 times 5. That's going to give me minus 70. And then I'm going to have minus 14 add 5. That's going to give me minus 9. Both of these fit because now we've got minus 9, which is the coefficient of x, and we've got our values, our factor pairs. Now I'm going to write 10 x squared minus 9x minus 7. I'm going to expand this out now. I'm going to write 10x squared. I'm going to put plus 5 because I know the 5 is related to that 10. Okay, plus 5x minus 14x, which I've taken from here, and then minus 7. So I've just brought that value down there and this 10 here. Okay, now I'm going to place it in brackets. This first one here, I'm going to put a plus sign here. I'm going to put minus 14x minus 7. The highest common factor, starting with this bracket first, the highest common factor of 5 and 10 is 5. We've also got an x on both sides as well. So we're going to take 5x outside of the bracket. leaving us with 2x plus 1. Let's have a look at the second bracket now. You've got 14x minus 7. We don't have a next term next to the 7, but we know that 14 and 7, the highest common factor is going to be minus 7, beg your pardon. The highest common factor will be minus 7. So let's take that out. So you're going to have minus 7 outside the bracket. And obviously minus 7 times 2x will give me minus 14. And minus 7 times positive 1 will give me minus 7. Okay, notice we've got 5x and we've got a minus 7. Place that inside of a bracket on its own. So there you go. And we have our 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1. We only need one of those. And that's your final answer. Let's highlight that one there. Okay. Having a look at this question now, we can see that the coefficient of x squared is minus 6. So coefficient is minus 6 for x squared, the coefficient of x is minus 5, and the constant term is 6. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant, which will give me minus 36. I'm going to find my factor pairs, and I think it's minus 9 times 4, which will give me minus 36. And if I did minus 9 add 4, that's going to give me minus 5. So we have our values that we need. So if I rewrite the expression just underneath here, 5x plus 6, and then I replace the 5x with my new values that I've got here. I've got minus 9x and we've got positive 4x, bringing down the 6 and bringing down the minus 6x squared. I'm going to go ahead and place these in brackets. I've done it deliberately this way because I know that minus 3 is the highest common factor of minus 6 and minus 9. Put 4x plus 6 inside of a bracket as well. Okay, scroll down. Now, the highest common factor of minus 6 and minus 9 in this bracket is minus 3. So let's take that out. And also x appears on both sides, so we can remove that as well. So then you're going to be doing 3x times 2x plus 3. Okay. Then in this bracket, we're going to do 4x plus 6. The highest common factor is going to be 2, and it's positive. So 2 times 2x will give me 4x, and 2 times positive 3 will give me 6. Take this value outside the first bracket and the value outside the second bracket and place that in its own bracket. So we got minus 3x plus 2. We only need one of the second brackets, 2x plus 3, so I'm going to put that here. And this is your final answer. Bit of a tricky question with the negative terms, so it's always good to check your answer. So let's go ahead and expand this bracket out. So I'll rewrite it over here. So we've got minus 3x plus 2 inside of a bracket, and then we've got 2x plus 3. Minus 3 times 2x, minus 3x, sorry, times 2x is minus 6x squared. Minus 3x times 3 is going to be minus 9x. 2 times 2x is positive 4x. And 2 times 3 is plus 6. Simplifying these minus 9x and the positive 4x will give you a final answer of minus 6x squared minus 5x plus 6. So we know that this is correct. So that brings us to the end of our lesson on factorising quadratic expressions. Please like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment. Any questions are welcome. If you would actually like a copy of this lesson as well, what you need to do is click on the link in the description box and it will take you to my website, which is www.success-tutoring.co.uk. Check out the resources on the website as well. That's about it. Hope that's helpful. Thank you.